So I would say the look when like I'm very competitive, right? And when your identity is your business or your craft, right? That's what you do 24/7, and that's what you put as a priority. So when I was, let's use skating for example, skateboarding came first, wife came second, and a distant second, kids came third, right? And so anything that my wife or family wanted to do that conflicted with skateboarding, it was a no.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk. As always, I have an incredible guest that I'm very excited to talk to, learn with, and chat. And before I introduce him to you, though, I just want to give you a big shout out. All of you who have been leaving reviews, comments, likes on all the major podcasting platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well, thank you very much. And I want to ask you something. I want to ask you that if you get some value out of this episode, if you get a feeling, something that you are inspired to do, I want to ask you to please share it with one friend, since this is how we grow, this is how we spread our message, this is how we motivate and inspire and bless other men to change their lives. And while you do that, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review. And the reality is that most people won't do it. 95% of people never take the time to leave a like, review, or comment. But the 5% of you who do are the ones who make all the difference. So to you, I say thank you. And today I have Mikey Taylor. He was a pro skateboarder, and he now turned into an entrepreneur. He's raising millions of dollars. He's a husband, father, entrepreneur. Exactly the kind of gentleman that I get on this podcast. I'm very excited to talk to you. And Mickey, thank you very much for being here, man. Thank you very much for wanting to make this happen, even if it meant making it happen from your phone on your car. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, my man.
So, man, the first thing that I do with my guests is I tell them to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
All right, here we go. Became a pro skateboarder. That was my job. Had no idea what life afterward was going to look like. I didn't go to college, so I kind of had this idea that no one would hire me. That meant I was going to have to create my own way of living. First business I started was a craft brewery in California, San Diego, called St. Archer. We had a lot of success with it. We became the fastest growing brewery in California. We sold it to Miller Coors almost 4 years after we started it. Really, really good experience. From there, I started my next company. That's what I do now. It's called Commune. We're a private equity real estate firm. We invest in apartment buildings. We invest in storage units. We raise capital so other people can invest in the deals that we have our money in. And we also have an educational component to our business. All of our social media is meant to teach people about money, the foundation of it, whether you get to the intermediate or you start going advanced, high level. But the ultimate goal is to achieve financial freedom. And there it is, 20 years and a minute and a half.
Awesome, man. That was great. So right now, you're like all doing all the financial stuff, raising a lot of money and teaching people about the financial stuff. But I bet that, my question is, for you to get here, man, like, do you just all of a sudden started raising millions of dollars and started teaching people how to? Did you like all of a sudden get to the financial side, or like is there more to it?
Yeah. So basically, when I told my parents that I wasn't going to go to college and I was going to be a pro skateboarder, my parents panicked. They were like, absolutely not. You're going to school. And back then, this was 20 years ago, if you didn't go to college, the idea was you could never make money. Yeah. And so, look, I was hellbent. I wanted to skate. So I told my parents I was going to be a skater. they were like, okay, well, if you're going to do this, you have to connect with somebody who's going to help you with money. You need to learn how to, manage your money correctly. And so I had somebody come into my life around 19 years old and really started helping me build out a plan on how to plan for my future, especially having a career that could end just like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so he helped me ultimately create a path of discipline where I was putting the majority of what I was making into originally a savings account so that, if an emergency happened, I could cover it. Then we started investing in, tax efficient vehicles, IRAs, etc. Then I started investing in the stock market and bonds, more conventional, so that I could save up enough money to invest in things like real estate. And then we basically, towards the second half of my career, when I wanted to start business, we kind of shifted that plan because I knew I'd need money to create my own companies. But I had somebody that ultimately helped. When we started St. Archer, we didn't have enough money to do it ourselves. And so our only option really was to go out and raise money. And so me and my two partners who had no experience basically just went out there and tried to make it happen. And so we raised about $2.5 million. That sounded crazy to us at the time. We didn't even think we'd be able to raise $500,000. But we had three people that were dedicated, that hated failure. And so we went out and did it. And so that was the beginning of me learning, how to raise money. When I moved into this company with real estate, you're raising money all the time, right? With a startup, you raise it in the beginning and you might have these additional rounds as you go on. But, with real estate, it's 24/7. So my capital raising skills definitely increased when we started this company.
Cool, man. So there's a couple of things that I'm getting, right? Number one, so like as a pro skateboarder, you're probably making money. And number one, before you even started to make money, you set the financial foundation, right? Because most skateboarders, pro fighters, pro athletes, right? They make a shit ton of money, but then they lose it because they don't know how to manage it. So
right.
One thing that I'm getting from that is that you set a financial foundation before you even started making money, and you got some kind of mentorship, right? From like someone. Right. The second thing is very early on, which is what I want to talk about, man. Very early on, you found out for some reason that you just liked skateboarding, right? Like it was like your one thing. So, man, I know that you have kids, and like I have a 2-year-old daughter. She's about 3, and one of the things I'm thinking about is like I'm not sure if I want to send her to school, man, like to like learn all kinds of BS that she's never going to use. Like what I want is to like find out what she's good at, find out what her one thing is, what her like skill, her talent, her gift is, and then just send her to like a superhero school that just focuses on exploiting that one thing so that she can be like, world class by the age of 10 or 15 or whatever. So, I'm curious, man, like, how did you come across skateboarding? Like that was your talent, your passion. Like, what would you call that?
Yeah. What my parents did, the approach my parents took is they didn't really push me one way or the other. They just supported me with whatever I was doing. Right. And I did a lot, dude. I rode bikes, I played hockey. But everything I did, I'd get super into it for a little bit. And then kind of the obsession would go away. With skating, I saw one of my friends who I hung out with regularly get a skateboard, and I just thought it was cool and kind of wanted to fit in. And so I grabbed a skateboard as well. It hit me. I was obsessed, but that was common, right? That happened in a lot of other sports. What was unique about skateboarding is the obsession just never went away. It grabbed me and it didn't let go for, over 2 decades. So it was, look, my view of skateboarding, it wasn't that I picked something up and that was like my God-given talent was to ride a skateboard. That's not how I succeed. With skateboarding, I was obsessed with it and it's all I wanted to do. So I was constantly trying to figure out a way to not let it end. And so when I turned 16 and my parents were like, hey, you need to get a job, you need to start making money. That meant to me that I wasn't going to be able to skateboard anymore. So, in my, teenage brain, it was, okay, how do I continue to skate and I have to get a job? Well, I need to figure out how to get sponsored so that companies will give me free stuff. Then I could sell that stuff and, problem solved. They get to keep skating. And it was that just like, resilience of not wanting my obsession to go away that I figured out a way to get companies to give me free stuff. That lasted 2 years up until college. My parents wanted me to go to college. I wasn't ready to let skateboarding end. next challenge was, how do I get these companies to pay me? And so skateboarding to me was just, or I would say being a professional skateboarder was just the solution to the problem that I was facing, which was I don't want to stop skating, you know.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
But my success came from outperforming. It was just outworking. Like my thing was just do more than everyone else and compete that way. It wasn't like I stepped on a skateboard and I was the Tiger Woods of skateboarding. Not my skill set.
Yeah, that's interesting because you mentioned that it wasn't like a God-given talent. It was like far from it, right? And that's number one. And number two, you had like skateboarding friends. So like they also become pros.
So when I started, like the kid who I saw riding a skateboard, right? And I was like, oh, I don't want to fit in. He skated for like maybe 4 months and then quit. And so I was like, okay, crap, I'm not ready. So in the beginning, I was going through these cycles of trying to find new friends that I could skate with. My parents ended up moving to this other town. And when I moved, it just so happened to be like an insane skate community. And I got plugged in with these guys who were phenomenal at skateboarding, way, way better than anything I'd ever seen. And in that friend group, there were about 4 of us that went pro, which like doesn't happen. It was just something that was special in that moment.
Cool. And so like, how many friends in total would you say roughly were?
Oh gosh, we had a crew of about 16, 17.
And then out of those 16, 4 went pro, which is, very rare, probably
Right.
1 out of, I don't know how many go pro. So like, what do you think was the difference, man, between the 4 that went pro and like the other ones?
Well, okay. So when I got to this area, right, Thousand Oaks, it was the first time I'd ever seen people doing tricks in real life that the pros are doing in the videos, right? The 3 guys that went pro, God-given talent, unbelievable. They were it just meant
Natural.
to do this, right? Yes. And I think having 3 people that were like that for me was inspiring because, or I would say bode well with my competitiveness because I want to be the best. And so seeing people be able to do tricks easily was what I needed to push through the difficulty that I was having and kind of force myself to improve to try to compete. And then the other 16 were still good skateboarders. Just I don't think they were obsessed like I was.
So you outworked them?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, like for example, like I'll put it in perspective. I'd wake up before school and skateboard. Lunch break, skateboard. Come home from school, skateboard. Go home, eat dinner, do my homework, skateboard in the garage at night. I did that every single day for over 20 years. The only day I would miss skateboarding is if I physically couldn't skate. Rolled ankle, broken something. That was the only thing that stopped me from skating. Other than that, it was 24/7 every single day without missing a beat.
Yeah. So no wonder, right? I have this thing that I got from a mentor that's called the awe factor. Awe,
Right.
Like AWE. Awe is ability, right? WE is work ethic,
Right.
equals results. So sometimes you don't have the ability like you. Your friends were like God-given talent, naturally gifted at skateboarding. So they had the ability, right? But you, with your work ethic, right? You got to that ability, and because you had built work ethic, now you have a compounding effect of ability and work ethic, right? So let's say that you got someone with an ability of 10, right? But they have a work ethic of 5. Well, that's 50, right? You got an ability of 5, right? You're not that talented, but you got a work ethic of 10. That's equally 50. So like the results are going to be the same through time. But now, because you have a work ethic of 10, eventually your ability will increase to 10, and 10 times 10 is 100. So now you're like overwork, you're not only outworking them, but out improving them, out everything, right? And like your results are going to be exponential and better. And it seems to me what happened with you.
Perfectly explained. Perfect explanation of what happened with me. You nailed it.
Awesome, man. And out of those, four people that went, 4 skateboarders that went pro, are the other 3 like where you are right now, like raising money and helping other people raise money and all that?
So 2 of them fit the description, right? Ability at a 10, work ethic at a 5. The one other one was ability at a 10, work ethic at a 10. And he became the Kobe Bryant of skateboarding, best skateboarder we've seen in generations.
And who's that?
Unbelievable. His name's Paul Rodriguez.
Oh,
Unbelievable. He's also got a Jay-Z mentality or outlook to his view of I would say opportunity. And so when he was skating, even at a young age before me, it was, how do I own the businesses that I'm marketing? And so you'll fast forward to today. Paul was one of my partners when we started the brewery. He owns one of the largest skateboard and clothing companies in our industry, really big business. And he has equity in a lot of the companies that he promotes. He's a monster. That guy is a monster. And then the other two fizzled out, no longer pro for actually a really short amount of time.
and then what did they like save the money and invest it somewhere else? So the money that they made while they were pros?
No, because the problem with skateboarding or pro skateboarding, we don't make a lot of money. It's very little. So a lot of the skaters, especially when they're like just getting going, you're not really in a position to save much. You're scraping by. Then as you become pro, you make a little bit more, but most pro skateboarders make 60 grand a year, and most pro skateboarders live in Los Angeles. So it makes it a little bit tough for somebody who wasn't able to create the discipline at a young age to save 30-40% of your income. You really got to set the barrier or the discipline at a young age.
Cool. So man, I'm loving it. So like we're talking about work ethic, ability, consistency, focus. You were focused on skateboarding as your one thing for like 20 years. And didn't matter the talent, right? So when until what age did you skateboard? How old are you right now? And what age did like that all ended?
I'm 39 now, and
Cool.
I stopped skating professionally right when I turned 34.
So about 5 years ago. Cool.
Yeah, a little bit. It was 16. Yeah, coming up in 6 years.
Yeah. So man, for like athletes and people like that do that kind of stuff, their career ends and like they're like lost, right? They're like their identity was attached to like whatever, football, basketball, in your case skateboarding, and once they lose that, they lose themselves. Did that happen to you?
Yeah, oh yeah, it definitely did. And for me, the shock was I wasn't prepared for it. Like I always had the mentality, or my focus was on the financial aspect of skateboarding, right? This kind of bows or leans towards our conversation that we had before the podcast started, right? My focus as a pro skateboarder was to take all of the financial power away from my sponsors and put it all in my hands, right? So that I was able to decide my future. Once I got to that point, I thought I was invincible. Well, fast forward, I end up getting to that point by 31. I don't need sponsors anymore. I don't need income from them. I'm financially free. My career ends overnight, and I wasn't prepared for the feeling of being lost. It was difficult, man. At this point, I have a wife, I have 2 kids, and my world got flipped upside down. And so that probably took me, I would say, a year of working through the emotional side of answering the 3 questions. At that time, it was really 2. Who am I? Identity. Why am I here? Purpose. Those were the 2 that I was really trying to figure out. In that kind of dark moment, what happened to me was like, I had everything, right? I had a wife, 2 kids, financially free, didn't have to work. Life was good, right? And being in a place where I felt like I couldn't swim anymore, I was at the bottom. I kind of only had one move to turn towards, and that was, while I was trying to figure out those 2 questions, why am I here, right? Why am I here? Why am I here? That ended up bringing me closer towards my creator, God. And so in this kind of desperation, I'm going, why am I here? Why am I here? I started reading the Bible. And I decided that I was going to read the whole Bible in a year, right? Dedicating to it. Never done that before.
Obsessed, like always.
Right. I'm like, I'm doing this thing, right? I end up reading the whole Bible in a year. By the end of that, I could answer those 2 questions. Why am I here? And who am I? Identity and purpose. From that point on, everything changed for me. I no longer was trying to find identity and purpose in a business or in a career. The career or business now was a complement to what my purpose was, right? And my big takeaway from that whole experience was, I'm not putting my identity and purpose in anything that could be taken from me. I won't experience that again. My identity and purpose is going to be in something real and forever. And ever since then, I mean, even the business now, the way that I structured my business currently, very different than how I structured my past business, and very different than my outlook when I was a pro skateboarder. And I really say that when I started this new business, I wanted everything to succeed. I didn't want to just be a great skateboarder that was financially free and have no identity, no purpose, and have a challenged relationship with my wife and my kids. I wanted a business that allowed me to have a great relationship with my wife, that allowed me to be the father I wanted to be, that allowed me to live out my purpose. And the last 4 years have been different than the previous 16. It's been a totally different experience.
Man, there's a lot that we can talk about from like this, a couple of things that you said. One of the things that I want to say though, is that for most married entrepreneurs with kids, like their main concern seems to be the money, right?
Right.
But like I cannot argue that if right now you take one of those married entrepreneurs with kids who think that the reason they have problems physically, emotionally, sentimentally with their wife and kids is the money, like the reason that they have money in all the other areas of their life is the money. Like if you take an entrepreneur with kids who thinks that and who feels that, and you give them $10 million right now, yeah, they'll go maybe, I don't know, buy some vacations, buy a car, and you know they'll fill this thing that they're missing inside with all of that with stuff. But then they'll get to the point in which they'll have everything, and there'll still be something missing inside, right? And so a lot of entrepreneurs, like, there's a quote that I heard the other day by I don't remember his name, Taylor Welch. Yeah. He said, there's nothing worse than succeeding at something that didn't matter.
Right.
So like climbing a mountain, and then when you get to the top, you're like wanting to throw yourself out of the mountain because that wasn't what you wanted. Right. And a lot of entrepreneurs, man, a lot of married entrepreneurs with kids think that what they want, like they're attaching their identity to what they want. They're getting their self-worth, their value from building this big business or achieving this great thing or making this amount of money. And if they don't, their self-worth, their self-worth, their identity is like shattered.
Right.
So, like, what advice do you have, man, for that?
Oh, there's a lot there. I would say one, like, especially us as men, right? We are programmed to provide. Like there is that provider built in, our existence. The challenge is, and you kind of nailed it, right? It's very easy for us to take that provider role
and identify it,
but then use it as an excuse to put all of your energy towards making money, right? And look, you have to make a certain amount of money, right? In this world, like, get yourself and your family above the line of like having to scramble to pay bills, but what your kids need and what your wife need are something very different, right? Your kids need to see what a father looks like and what a husband looks like, because that's going to be their example of who they go out and find to be a husband or a wife, right? So to answer your question, and this is, I think, geared towards entrepreneurs, what is the point of making money when you, as the leader of the household, didn't equip your kids to succeed? That's a failure. It's an overall failure, right? Us as parents, right? Our number one job, be there for our wife. Second job collectively is for us to build our kids to make massive impact in the world, right? You cannot do that if you're never home. Can't do it. And the money will not fulfill that for the kids. It's why you see this generational cycle of wealth ending every 3 generations, right? You have one person who has the mentality of, I want to give my kids everything I didn't have. And so they go out and create, right? And then they create the wealth. And then their kids never have to work again. So now they have everything that their parents didn't have, except the parents didn't teach their kids how to go out and earn and how to go out and provide, right? So they have enough money to maintain it. And then the next generation are the ones that blow it because they didn't have any ability to even see their parents work for it, right? So my view is, as a man, as the father, you have to build your kids up to succeed, show them what a good husband looks like, and show them what a good work ethic looks like. You give them those three things and your kids will be fine. Don't even have to worry about them.
100%, man. And look, one very powerful thing that I like to say is that if you have a daughter, your daughter will marry a scary, almost identical version of you.
Right.
So like if you're not showing up with your wife as the way that you would want a man to show up with your daughter, come on, there's something to change there.
Right.
If you have sons, your son will become a scary, almost identical version of you. So like, so like if the way you show up for your wife, for life, for your business, you'll have a kid that grows up to be an almost identical version of you. So if you're not proud of how you're showing up at home, that's how your kid will be showing up. So just ask yourself, would you be proud of that, right? And yeah, man, like there's a like certain amount of money, right, to like cover your, like this
basic
this
necessities,
pyramid,
right?
Yeah, pyramid of high-low. That guy, the guy who's I don't know, genius, who was a genius, physiological needs, right, safety needs, love and belonging, and then yeah, there's definitely an amount of money that that like you have to like focus on getting so that you can make sure that everything is taken care of. But then what will actually fill you up is like knowing who you are, knowing why you are, and knowing your purpose, right? So man, so right now you mentioned how like everything changed, right? So like even how you structure your business changed. Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to tell you that this podcast has completely changed my life in ways that you could never imagine, and I would like the same for you. Look, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and the fastest way for you to level yourself up in every area of your life is for you to connect with people who are where you want to be, build relationships with them, and connect with them. The best way for you to do that right now in the digital age is for you to start your own podcast. And I just wanted to let you know that I have a free training that you can get free access to. It's called the 30-day Net Worth Skyrocketing 3-step podcast cloak track framework. And it's going to show you how you can start and automate everything in your podcast, from finding your ideal guest, getting them on an interview with you, and creating an automated content machine in just 30 days. By executing on this free training, you're going to be able to connect with high-level people, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem, in just 30 days with less than 1 to 2 hours per week, so that you can increase your net worth, your authority, your trust, your client acquisition ability, and your opportunity. So there's a special link for this free training in the description of this video. Thank you for watching and tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of this episode. Bye-bye. Once you've found out who you are and like why and your purpose, so would you mind talking about that? Like who are you?
Yeah. So I would say the look, when like I'm very competitive, right? And when your identity is your business or your craft, right? That's what you do 24/7, and that's what you put as a priority. So when let's use skating, for example, skateboarding came first, wife came second, and a distant second, kids came third, right? And so anything that my wife or family wanted to do that conflicted with skateboarding, it was a no. It was a non-negotiable no. Any trips we wanted to do, if I had something to do with skating, it was a hard no. As you can imagine, that did not create a great relationship with my wife, did not create a great relationship with my kids. Now, thankfully, at that time, my kids were pretty young. So I was able to kind of correct before doing a lot of damage. But, for my wife and I, we had to work through that. We got 7 years in on our marriage. When my career ended, she looked at me and went, "I'm miserable. Like, this is not what I want." And so in that, it's like I had to figure out my identity. I had to fix my marriage again, start working on a lot of tools that I was neglecting. And a big part of that was because of my hierarchy or priority structure, right? Once I changed and put my family ahead of business, then how I built my business had to be built in a way to have a successful relationship with my kids. What that ended up doing, and this is the blessing to it, every entrepreneur needs to hear this part. As entrepreneurs, we have this idea that we have to outwork everyone, right? And we get stuck in this, I have to always be doing 24/7. That does not help you build a system to scale. That puts you in solopreneur world that has a cap on it. You won't be able to earn beyond that cap because you can only do so much in a day, right? When you have to make sure that you can be the husband and father to your kids, you have to create a company that ultimately can run without you. Mm-hmm. Here's the big kicker. If you don't create a company that can run without you, you will never, ever, ever scale your business. You will ultimately become a slave to your business, and you're in no better position than you were prior. So what I found is by putting the family first, it actually helped me build a company that had the ability to scale. And now I have it built how a successful business should be built, where I am no longer the greatest threat to my business, because if something happens to me, my business can continue. And if I step away and want to go spend a week, 2 weeks with my family, my business is fine. So that was kind of one of the effects that was a huge net gain by doing that.
Cool, man. 100%.
There's a lot there, huh?
Yeah. I've recently made the shift from there's like 4 levels of consciousness, right? There's like 16, but if you chunk them down into like, there's 4 major ones. The first one is like the victim mentality. The mantra of the people that are in this first level of awareness is to me. Everything happens to me, right?
Right.
It's a very disempowering way to live. Like you're living in reaction mode. You're like surviving. Everything is happening to you, right? It's really bad. Then the second level of awareness is you go from the victim to the achiever, right? And the mantra of the achiever is by me, right? And you realize that everything that you want happen will happen. It will not fall from the sky. If it will happen, it will happen by you, right? That's where most entrepreneurs are in. Like everything is happening by them. They're the ones making everything happening. They're working hard 24/7, hustling and grinding. And then there's a third level of awareness, which is like you're in flow, right? You're in flow. Everything seems to be going your way. Everything seems like natural, like effortless. And the mantra of this is through me. Everything happens through you. And one of the things that you have to let go of in order to go, most entrepreneurs are here. That's what the personal development industry is for, to get people from victim to achiever mode. And one of the things that you have to let go of in order for you to go from achiever into like things happening through you, things being more effortless, is the need for control.
Right.
Like you thinking that you have to do everything. Like that you think, like being a solopreneur, like thinking that you're the only one that can do everything in your company, and that's why you can hire. That's like ego or insecurities, whatever. And like letting go of control and replacing that with trust and a sense of knowing, hiring and stuff. And yeah, so 100%, man. And I'm thinking about like, I know, oh man, I'm so excited. Like every time I get on a like an interview, it's like holding a giant mirror in front of me, and I get to know everything that I have and everything that I haven't yet developed.
Right.
So, I'm sorry. All right. And everything that I haven't yet developed, man. And it's so amazing because like, it's giving me so much clarity. And like now what I want to talk about is like raising money and raising money and exiting companies and stuff. Because like the modern gentleman thing, you know, I started this like 2 years ago. It was like, it didn't work as I expected it. You know, you can probably tell why.
Nothing ever does. Right.
You know, you have a 20-year-old entrepreneur who is getting on a call with you know, a 40-year-old entrepreneur, and then he's telling you that he's going to help you get your physical freedom, emotional freedom, and sentimental and financial freedom on track. Like it's kind of nuts, right? Like you wouldn't want to give him I don't know, money, right? And it also is like my own insecurity. Maybe I showed up with lack of conviction, whatever, but I was essentially trying to teach people how to do something I hadn't done myself. So I had to take a step back. I was like building this podcast. It turned out that 6 months ago, I started this podcast. I'm about to like surpass 70 interviews. So it turned out that I'm good at this. And it turns out that there's other people out there who want to start their own podcast. And now I'm helping them with that. And like, it happened effortlessly. Like I was just doing my thing, trying to fulfill my purpose, trying to provide value to people by jumping on these interviews, created a system that doesn't need me to build my podcast. And all of a sudden it turns out that other people want that as well. And what I'm thinking about doing, man, is I want to build this company, the podcast. I help entrepreneurs build a multi-million-dollar network building podcast. I want to build this, exit, and then build the modern gentleman thing, build the entrepreneur, because as you know, the biggest risk when investing in a business is not the business, but the businessman. So use the modern gentleman to like build business, and then have another company, like an investment company in the back end of the modern gentleman. So once we get entrepreneurs through modern gentleman and we help them become a good businessman, right? A modern gentleman. Now we can help them scale their company, help them exit, and like that's what I want to do.
Right.
So raising
like
capital,
like an incubator
exactly.
structure. Right.
Yeah. And that's what I want, man. And one of the things that I'm gonna have to like go into is like raising capital. And I actually just interviewed a man who has spent like over 30 years raising capital. His name is oh man, I don't remember his name, but like I just interviewed him like three hours ago, and like something really cool came out of it. Like relationships, man. That's all. That's something that I want everyone to hear. Relationships. Business is all about relationships. Right now with this man, he has students. He teaches people, entrepreneurs, how to raise capital, right? And I offered him to teach some of his students for free to start a podcast interviewing investors, so that they can, because he said that one of the problems is the entrepreneur, like lack of confidence, right? So like if you get a podcast and get 100 interviews with investors, then, all of a sudden talking to an investor is going to be like something you do for breakfast. So I offered him that. He agreed. So I'm very excited about what's coming. So he said that we were talking about raising capital. He said that one of the major things that you need is to sell yourself first and have some conviction. So like, what's your take, man, on raising capital? Like, can anyone raise capital?
That's a good question. Well, anyone can get to a point of being able to raise capital, but you can't just throw anyone in the ring to raise capital. The reason I say that is, in my perspective, raising capital is the hardest type of sales, period. And you hear more no's than any other aspect of sales, right? And a lot of times when it's the entrepreneur raising capital, right, you're hearing a no and you're trying to fight that no in your brain from, convincing yourself that your opportunity isn't right, or your idea isn't right, or your vision isn't right, right? So that's a hard dynamic, one. Two, when you're raising capital for someone else, that's a different story. You still have to be comfortable hearing no, and you still have to know what it feels like to get 90 no's to get one yes, right?
Yeah.
That I think can be trained. As far as let's call it the structure in which you pitch, right? Like if you're going to create some type of conviction and then social proof or experience, then talk about like all of that can be learned. I think networking is a big part of it, right? You have to build a huge network knowing that you're only going to convert, let's call it 5% of them, right? And then on top of that, anyone who tells you that they're going to give you, let's say, $1 million, right? I'm going to go higher, gives you $1 million. What that really means is they're going to invest 200 grand, right? So you have to overperform on the amount of people that you're pitching to eventually land at the targeted amount. And what that means, you have to have a lot of people to pitch, which means you have to be good at networking. So I would say if you're an extrovert, right? You like being around people, you like telling stories, you're engaging. That's a perfect type or personality type to be out there raising capital. If that's not you, you're more of an introvert, you're more, focused on efficiency or structure or optimization. That doesn't mean you can't raise capital. What it means is you should probably partner with somebody that raises capital and let them be front facing, who's just going to be attacking leads, pitching the story, driving them to you, the introvert, let's say. And then it's your job on the follow-up, on the material, etc. Because when it comes to investing, the pitch isn't what does it. The magic is in the follow-up. All of the money is made in the follow-up. So just know you don't have to be good at both. I'm not good at both. I'm better at the front end, not the follow up. So, you're either going to have to sharpen your skills and deal with it in the beginning, or find somebody to do it with. That's been a good model that I've seen.
Man, so you mentioned a really interesting point at the beginning. When like if you're the one raising capital for you're the entrepreneur, you're the one raising capital, getting no's is going to like it's going to like make you doubt yourself, you're rejected, your self-worth, all of that. So man, when I first started with my podcast, like I had that going on. So like I would ask people to be on my podcast, they would say yes. And then, because of my self-worth, I would be like, no, you know what? Let me cancel this. Let me cancel this meeting, right? Because I didn't feel like I worked like I deserved it. So it's happened the same with like like reaching out to people that I want to sell my services to. Like if I'm the one reaching out to people that I want to sell my services to, I get rejected, I like my mind starts playing mind games with me of you're not good enough, you're not worth it, you're like I doubt myself. So that's why it's important to like get someone in place to do it for you that is not that emotionally attached to whatever it is that you do, right? So that was an interesting point.
Well, correct, but actually I think it's good for you to do it in the beginning stages, right? Okay. And I'll say this, it does get easier as you get older, right? Because you get used to people telling you no, and then you start seeing that you succeed even with the no's, and then the no's stop meaning as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's harder when you're first starting out. Like the amount of people that told me I'd never be a pro skateboarder, it was a lot of people. You become a pro skateboarder and you're like, okay, maybe they don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? When we started our first business with St. Archer, the no's were much harder because you're raising capital from other people. Other people are entrusting you with their hard work and saved money. And so you have a different type of responsibility on your shoulders. Then when you hear another one go, you guys can't pull this. The craft beer industry is saturated. You're not going to be able to compete. Then you're like, it's an extra mind F, right? You're like, oh my gosh, we are going to lose all these people's money. But it's really good to experience that because it creates strength, right? And it creates confidence in yourself. So I would just recognize that. And if you're the personality that retreats, and like you were saying, that's canceling, meetings, well, that needs to be your kind of alert that when you start doing it, that's when you have to force yourself to step up, right? You're going to retreat in those situations. That's a good indicator that you're onto something, and force yourself to take the meeting, regardless if you blow it or not. It's making steps towards where you want to be.
Yeah. So I didn't cancel meetings, but I would get this huge urge, man, to do it, right?
That's
and
normal.
I recognized that it was just a story. It's just a story. My mind trying to play games with me. But yeah, another question that I have. I heard this analogy the other day that like investors, there's a bunch of money out there, man. Like investors have money, and I heard this analogy that is like they have gallons of milk that they want to give away because if they don't, they'll go raw. Is that true? Like in like the industry, like people are wanting to give you money as long as you have a good vehicle, as long as you're a good entrepreneur and you got a good vehicle to put it on.
1,000%, 1,000%. Look, we have a different view of wealthy people. I think, like we have this view that wealthy people are just so magnificent that they're out there just making a ton of money, right? That's not how the wealthy are. The wealthy create a machine, and they're constantly looking to put dollars into this vehicle to maintain and then grow their machine, right? So if you can show them opportunity or bring them opportunity that fits into their vehicle so that they can continue their vehicle to move, they're giving you money all day long. Right now, we're in a very unique moment where there is too much money out there. And with inflation doing what it's doing, there's an added urgency for people to get dollars out, right? Let's say, to your analogy, the wealthy have 10 gallons of milk, right? That typically goes bad in 3 weeks. Well, now it's going bad in 3 days. So the energy to get dollars in the market is heavy right now. Now, when a recession hits, when there is a downturn, which there will be, it gets harder to raise capital without a shadow of the doubt. It is not the same. You can still do it, but it is harder.
Okay. Cool.
So just keep that in mind. We're in a moment right now where this is the easiest it's ever been to raise capital as long as I've been alive. So it's a good time to do it.
Awesome. So do you teach people how to raise capital?
No, never do actually.
So when you say right now that you had like education, teaching people about like education and business and like financial, like what is it that you do exactly?
We talk more about financial literacy and investing. So we'll
Got it.
talk about, for those that are in debt, how to get out of debt, how to create your budget, the percentages that you need to be saving, what different types of investments are, the risk and reward tied to them, how to ultimately create this plan for financial freedom. We talk less about like the business structure, how you create a business. It's more on investing. And then we go more deep on real estate investing, right?
Cool.
This is how apartment buildings work. This is how you underwrite a deal, etc.
So setting the foundation that you were able to set at the beginning of your career.
Exactly right. I'm trying to do everything I did. I'm trying to show people exactly what I did to get here.
Awesome. That's amazing. So man, we were almost out of time and I finished my interviews with 5 questions. So gonna go ahead and ask you the first one.
Hit me.
Man, if you could give your 20-year-old self some advice, what would you say? Not redo your life or go back, or no, just like give your 20-year-old self some advice. What would that be? That's selfishly for me.
I would. Sorry, I got a call right there. What I would say to my 20-year-old self is that 10 years goes by like this. 20 years, just as fast. And so when you're young, you're so focused on who you're trying to be and you expect to see results every single day. I would say stretch it out a little bit. Look at more of a macro view, because you're going to look back a year from who you previously were and see massive, massive change. But sometimes we're so focused on the day that you can't see it. And when we can't see it, we get frustrated and discouraged and no longer push through. So I would say have more of a macro view on who I was trying to become, not a micro view of who I wanted to be tomorrow.
Amazing, man. And just to like kind of translate it into my own words, like take a step back and feel grateful, right? Because like you're so focused on just achieving that a year passes by and like you haven't taken a step back to like be grateful about everything that you've achieved, everything, how far you've come, that you can't feel the progress because you're in it, right? But if you take a step back and are like, you're gonna realize like, holy shit, like the person that I was 1 year ago is irrecognizable to the person that I'm right now. Like,
right. Exactly right.
So take a step back and be grateful. That's exactly what I would say, right? So man, the second question is around mindset. What is one mindset shift that you can share that has allowed you to get to where you are right now in your life?
Oh man, mindset shift would just be moving more towards an abundance mentality. There's money out there for everyone. If somebody's better than me, there's room for me to be equally as good. Going as far away from victim as possible. And actually, I'm going to say this one too. Pushing the bar higher than I think is possible. That one I actually struggled with. I was pretty good at thinking I was setting the bar beyond what other people were, but where I was setting the bar was always what I thought I was able to do. Kind of having that 10x mentality, right? If I want to make 100 grand this year, my goal needs to be $1 million. It's insane what our brains are built to do. Once you set the goal, we figure out how to achieve that goal. So set it higher than you think is possible, significantly higher.
I love it, man. Because man, what I've experienced is that whatever you tell your mind that you want, it'll give it to you. Right. For some reason, your subconscious mind, it'll give it to you.
Exactly right.
So think big, right?
Right.
So the third question is around mindset, map, clarity, right? You had to go through a period of your time in which you were looking for clarity. So do you have a tactic, strategy, advice, something that can help people gain clarity on like who they are, what they want, where they're going, clarity, just that good stuff?
I would say before you do anything, right? Before you even go to college, you've got to answer the 3 most important questions in our life: identity, purpose, and destiny. Why am I here? Sorry.
Who am I?
Who am I? Why am I here? And where do you go when you die? I think you have to have those 3. Without knowing those 3, you'll never live the life you're meant to live here. And somebody said this to me years ago. It was so important that you can't actually enjoy your life now unless you are comfortable dying at any instance. If you're scared to dying, you'll never be happy living your life here.
Yeah, man. Dying, man. Like we're just gonna go around once. Man, I'm going to be a billionaire. Not because being a billionaire I think is going to solve all my problems, or because I think that when I become a billionaire I'm going to be happy. No. Like right now, without like being rich or whatever, I'm successful, happy, and fulfilled. I have it all.
Right.
And from this place, I realized that because like of my level of awareness, I'm extremely young. I'm probably going to be a billionaire without having to uh, work too hard or too much effort. Not because I need to be a billionaire, but because that's what I'm probably capable of. Taking into consideration the span of my life, and because like I'm only going to live once, so I want to make sure that I like just squeeze every bit out of my life. So yeah, cool. The fourth question is mindset map motion. What is one habit, man, that you have that you think has contributed to your success?
One habit that's contributed to my success, learning how to control my emotions.
Yeah.
That's been massive for me. If something happens, not to react on an instance, remove myself, get my emotions under control, break it down logically, then act after that. That's been everything. If you can't control your emotions, you're going to have a very, very, very difficult time having a good relationship, having any type of success investing, create any type of business. It's going to be very, very difficult for you.
100%. Do you have any tactical things that you do to gain more emotional mastery?
So I would say everyone's going to have a different exercise in how to remove themselves, right? But when something happens for me where I get rattled, right? Like I start tripping out. I typically go away. Now I go to the driving range, right? I'm going to go hit balls just to remove my mind, right? Just like a mindless activity. I'm going to do that for an hour. Then I'm going to take a walk and I'm going to call somebody who I trust that is completely out of my scenario. I need some advice. Walk me through this, right? And I'm ultimately going to get myself to a calming place, right? For others, it might look different. You might, go on a run. You might meditate. Whatever you have to do, you have to get yourself to a calm position. And then I lean on others around me who I trust to get their clarity. And then I formulate my opinion and then I step out.
Nice. So you make a decision after you've gotten yourself out of that emotional state that you were in.
1000%, because when your emotions are high, you have the inability to think logically. They cannot happen together, right? So I get myself in a position to bring my emotions down so I can get back into logical thinking.
100%. Awesome. Yeah, that was emotional mastery, man. That's what it's.
Right.
That was
right.
Yeah. So one last question is, measuring and tracking. Like any takes on that? Measuring and tracking, whether it's life or business, whatever.
Yeah, I think measuring and tracking is important. For me, I used to set daily goals. I don't set daily goals anymore. I have my calendar, I have my to-dos for the day, but that's more of a function of this is what I need to get done. I'm more tracking on a quarterly basis what the quarterly goals were, and then we track the end goals to try to hit them as well. Accountability, I have partners, so that's actually a really good thing. We do our quarterly meetings, we do a yearly meeting. We go and see what we accomplished as far as our goals were. We see where we missed, and then we set our new quarterly and then year goals. That's been good to have people hold you accountable in that regard.
Awesome, man. So, man, I just love everything that you're about, all the wisdom that you've shared. I'll probably be going, digging a little bit deeper to learn about the financial stuff. And if I want to know more about you, man, where can I go? Where can I find you? Where can I get more of you?
So you can go on any social media platform, put in Mikey Taylor, you're going to find me. I'll typically be first with a check mark. Cool. If you want to see our company is Commune Capital. It's Commune Capital on all the platforms. Our website's communecapital.com.
Cool. Oh, and one question. You raise money so that others can invest in real estate?
We raise money from investors so that they can invest in real estate deals without having to do any of the work. So they invest passively. We manage the property or the build out or whatever we're doing to the project. And then the returns that that project generate are then given to investors, and then we participate in that as well.
Cool. So then you must have a massive network of investors. Awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome, man. Yeah. So man, it was great talking to you. I had a lot of fun, man. Thank you very much for showing up. And yeah, thank you.
My man, appreciate you.
Thank you for watching the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms